What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and as Burning Shadows is approaching, I'm kind of just revisiting old decks that kind of got revamped with Guardians Rising as I prepare my decks for Burning Shadows, and one of those decks that I've decided to revisit is Passimian Mew. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, Burning Shadows is coming out. It should be out this Friday. I'm insanely pumped. I know you guys are too. So my question of the day, I'm gonna save the generic, like, what are you most excited for? I'm gonna save that for Wednesday. But for today, if you guys have seen the set list for Burning Shadows, what current deck, expanded or standard, do you think will be helped out most by the Burning Shadows set? Now, that's not saying what deck are you most excited for from Burning Shadows, or what deck do you think will be the best deck after Burning Shadows is released. I'm asking what current deck do you think will be helped out the most by Burning Shadows? So that's a deck that will get a card or a couple cards or something like that from Burning Shadows that will allow the deck to be more successful than it was. Honestly, I'm kind of going to go with a real cop-out answer, and I'm just going to say it's going to be Marshadow GX with Night March, just because Marshadow is able to use the Night March attack from the discard pile, which is something that really nothing else has been able to take advantage of. I mean, I know Mew EX and Baby Mew were able to use Night March as long as those Pokemon were on board, but Marshadow, for a DCE, you can have all 12 Night Marchers in the discard pile, and Marshadow is going to be able to Night March for 240 damage. That is absolutely insane, and I think will help out quite a bit. It'll give Night March a little bit more damage coverage, especially against, actually, you know what, I just thought about this, but Night Spear Darkrai was kind of the bane of Night March's existence. Blah, wow, word vomit again. But with Marshadow, Night March is going to be able to hit Dark super effectively, which was a type, like I said, that it struggled with before. So I think Marshadow GX is going to just is going to make Night March a whole new animal and expanded. And actually, that makes me really, really sad, because my favorite deck was Turbo Darkrai, and my favorite part about that was how much it destroyed Night March. But with the new Marshadow, it's going to be an uphill battle for me. But yeah, that is the deck that I think is going to be benefited the most. The current deck that I think is going to benefit the most from Burning Shadows. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. You don't have to use like a top tier deck. You can use like an obscure deck, like a random, oh, I think Elysapod GX will work great in this deck or something like that. Actually, Darkrai GX could be good in a standard Turbo Darkrai deck, but that's beside the point. Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. Love to hear what you guys think about the new set and what decks it could help out. But anyway, on to this deck. Like I said, we are revisiting an old quote-unquote favorite of mine, and that is Passimian Mew. Passimian team play for a DCE does 10 plus 30 more for each of your benched Passimian. Maxes out at 100 damage if you have an active Passimian attacking, well, 130 if you include Choice Band. But with Mew, you can hit for 130 if you have 4 Passimian and a... Well, actually, you can hit for 160 if you have 4 Passimian and a Choice Band. 180, which is a magic number, if you have Kukui, Choice Band, and 4 Passimian. So it hits for some decent numbers for a single DCE. That being said, it's still not like a top tier deck, but the combination of fighting and psychic coverage actually handles a decent amount of the metagame right now, particularly versions of Garbodor, where they would probably use like Drampa, Tauros, or Espeon are usually the big three that you see coupled with Garbodor. I mean, I know I literally just did a Mega Rayquaza Garbodor, but that really wasn't a Garbodor-centric deck. But in a Garbodor-centric deck, you see, again, Espeon GX, Tauros, and Drampa. Those are really the big three that you see. Well, guess what? Passimian and Mew cover those weaknesses, and then you can focus on the prize trade, being able to knock out their GXs and some of their EXs for a single prize attacker that you can easily recycle and stuff like that. So really, this deck is actually a really random, good, decent matchup against Garbodor. I mean, Garbodor is still Garbodor and is freaking amazing, so this deck will obviously still lose to it in the right situation. But this deck's matchup against Garbodor isn't that bad. So if you guys are going to like a local or something like that, just like a random card shop, and you know literally everybody brings Garbodor, bring this deck. Bring this deck. You might have some pretty decent success with it. But, I mean, that's really just what the whole strategy is centered around. Hitting with Passimian or Mew, with team play, and a bunch of ways of boosting damage, recurring the Pokemon, dealing with other strategies that could potentially hinder you, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go through the Pokemon one by one. One, Oranguru. The Sky Field is the stadium of choice, so Oranguru is kind of a card that you can play down to get consistent draw support. Things like Shaymin and Lele were running both in this deck, but after you play them down, they're not particularly good. So playing them down, then playing Oranguru and having your opponent counter your Sky Field so you can get rid of the Shaymins and Leles can put you in a position where you're like, well, all I have are one prize attackers now, so I'm in a great spot, and I still have Pokemon draw support with Oranguru. So Oranguru and Passimian, they're kind of each other's counterpart, but they still work well together in this deck. 2-2 of Shaymin and Lele, just because of the draw support that both of them provide. Lele gets you a supporter, can get you like Brigette early game to get more Passimian out, and then of course Shaymin gets you draw support, and I know a lot of people are dropping Shaymin. This deck, you need a little bit of extension at times. You need to be like, well, I really need one more Passimian and I need to draw a couple more cards, but I already used my supporter for the turn. Shaymin is just a good way of being able to draw a couple more cards in that turn, just extend just a little bit more. They're running absolute max numbers of Passimian and Mew just because, I mean, main attackers, those are the ones you want to go with, that type of stuff. As for the items, one Escape Rope, kind of a pseudo Lysandre, and also if you start with like a Oranguru or Shaymin or something like that, you really don't want to have to pay the DCE as a retreat cost because, I mean, DCEs are obviously precious in this deck. So having an Escape Rope is a good way. Getting out of dodge, just kind of being like, well, yeah, just get me out of the active spot, all of that. You really don't have to worry about too much switching because our attackers are going to get knocked out because they're pretty frail, although Passimian with 110 HP isn't bad. But, I mean, they're pretty frail, so they're going to be going down. One Field Blower just to kind of get rid of, well, Field Blower is pretty much entirely for Garbotox and Garbodor because if they have Garbotoxin up, our Mews can't do anything, and Mew is our way of being able to take out Garbodors. So yeah, if Garbotoxin's up, we basically just auto lose, so Field Blower is our way of dealing with that. As for the search, running 3-4 of Nest Ball and Ultra Ball. Nest Ball because it allows us to just straight up grab any basic and throw it on our bench. Ultra Ball guarantees gets us what we want when we want it. 4 Puzzle of Time, absolute max number so that we can reuse 2 things out of our discard pile. 3 Rescue Stretcher just because we need a ton of recursion in order to get our Passimian and Mews back after they get knocked out, because they will get knocked out and they will get knocked out consistently. So having a large number of Rescue Stretcher allows us to either shuffle a bunch back or just grab one from the discard pile when we need it. 2 Special Charge in order to recur our DCEs, which are an absolutely vital resource in this deck. 1 Town Map so that we can flip over our prize cards, see if we have any like Passimian prized or important cards prized so that we can make the most out of taking prizes. 2 Trainers Mail, just because, I mean, had a couple extra slots, so threw Trainers Mail in there to add a little bit of consistency, and this deck uses enough items anyway that Garbodor is going to be massively one-hit knocking out everything, so might as well add a little bit of consistency, that way we can have a fighting chance. 4 VS Seeker let us reuse all of our supporters. Sky Field is the stadium of choice. And like I said, because you want to put down a bunch of stuff and also be able to bounce out Shaymins and Leles if our opponent counters our stadium. And then as for these supporters, as you can see, we literally have a whole row of different ones that we're using. There's obviously the 3-3-2 of Sycamore N and Lysandre, just because, I mean, that's what I'm comfortable with, what I like, and it's working for me so far, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. 1 Brigette, because Lele into Brigette is insanely powerful in this deck, and also you're able to get 3 Passimian out with simply a Brigette. 1 Hex Maniac shuts off abilities from our opponent, just kind of slow them down. If you're attacking with Mew, don't use Hex Maniac, but sometimes it can come in clutch if you need it. 1 Ranger, just because this deck auto loses to Jolteon, and I'm paranoid, so yeah, threw in a Pokemon Ranger just cuz. 1 Kukui in order to hit for just a little bit more damage, because there's one thing I've noticed about this deck, even with Choice Band, sometimes it just misses knockouts. So Kukui is there to boost damage, also draw a couple cards. 1 Teammates just gets us 2 cards from the deck. Really just whatever we need at a time as one of our if one of our attackers just got knocked out. 3 Choice Band, boost the damage output, and 4 DCE. Because, I mean, that's what this deck runs on, DCE. So, yeah, I'm done rambling. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against CG with a pure fairy deck. So, it might be like a Xerneas Break, maybe a Mega Gardevoir, but not the Psychic Mega Gardevoir, because then we'd obviously see the Psychic type. But, yeah, we do lose the coin flip, meaning we will go second, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I do still kind of prefer to go first. That way you have more chances of getting more Passimian out. And okay. Well, I mean, I did admittedly think to myself that I wanted energy first turn, but I didn't want 3 of my 4. So, yeah, that happened. Yeah, and I mean, it's clearly okay, so it's a Mega Gardevoir Togekiss deck, which is really, really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, I use the same, well, technically Aura Bomb used the same idea, but I stole the same idea with Togekiss and Darkrai. So, alright, well, what I can do is actually get a knockout on Togepi first turn because it has 40 HP. So what I'm going to do is Nest Ball, just grab a Passimian, play the DCE onto that one, and then Escape Rope into Togepi, knock that thing out with the team play, and then hope that I get something good off the prizes. So, I mean, like, that was... I mean, it wasn't a great first turn, but it was sufficient, to say the least. Because, I mean, I got a knockout, and I got another Passimian in play. So, I mean, there's that, and then there's another Togepi coming down, another energy. Yeah, my opponent just goes for a life leap, so neither of us have anything at all, and my Passimian is actually about to be in a little bit of danger. So what I'm going to do is power up my other Passimian. You know what? Actually, does Life Leap do anything? I was thinking, well, I could Ranger. But, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and go for the team play. Yeah, he will be able to knock me out next turn if he wants to. But, I mean, I have the Rescue Stretcher in hand, so I will just be able to, get the Passimian right back into my hand. So I'm really, like, not worried about this one Passimian. So I think at this match, I'm just going to have to hit for 40 damage over and over. We do see the Drampa come down. Nothing's weak to fighting. So, ooh, that might be... Okay, so I might have to try to get the Drampa for a couple cheap prizes later. My opponent does get a knockout. Grabs, too late, I didn't see what it was. I'm sure you guys probably noticed because you're looking for that. Nah, here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of the Special Charge and the Ranger for a, I think a Lele maybe. Yeah, because Brigette is in the deck. Okay, so yeah, let's actually do that. Let's go ahead and grab Lele because I can grab Brigette, which gets me a couple Passimian and Oranguru, or like a Passimian Mew and Oranguru, although I think at this point I will have to go for a couple Passimian and Oranguru so that I can draw some cards, because I will be able to get the knockout on the Gardevoir this turn because of Rescue Stretcher being able to grab the Passimian that was just knocked out. So I will be able to take a prize this turn, and I can play the DCE onto one of the Passimian. It really doesn't matter which one, and Instruct for 3 more cards, hopefully something good. Well, if I had a good supporter in my discard pile, then it would be good. But, I mean, hey, it's still a couple cards. I get a couple cards off of my prizes. I get an N, which I really... as soon as I get my good... as soon as I take a couple prizes, N shows up. So it's like, well, you're a little bit late, but at least I have the Lysandre to bring in the Togepi next turn, which I think I might actually end up doing. Just because... I don't know. Will I just take the knockout on Drampa, or should I knock out the Togepi? Because Drampa's a couple prizes, and Drampa can actually knock it, or discard a special energy that's attached to my Passimian, and by special energy I mean DCE. Sorry, I was just thinking of like the phrasing of Righteous Edge, where it says discard a special energy. So, yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of sitting here at this point. My opponent does bring up Drampa. I think they were wondering whether or not they should promote the Drampa or they should promote the Togepi. Let the Togepi take the hit. Because Drampa is going to be an easy couple prizes. Just because it's weak to fighting. Passimian will easily be able to knock it out. Even if you Righteous Edges Actually, if he Righteous Edges, that could be a little bit difficult. Just because I won't have any access to a DCE or something like that. So... I mean, I think he's going to Righteous Edge right here. Get rid of my DCE, because that means 2 are in the discard pile. Half of them are in their discard pile. My opponent does get a Lily, so finally he gets a good draw supporter that he can use. Potentially get something going. Gets a Togetic. Are we going to see a Togekiss? So if we see a Togekiss, then if you see a Togekiss, hits a couple energy, a Magma Secret Base, and another Togepi, then Drampa could actually knock me out. But he's actually going to go for a Big Wheel GX. I actually completely disagree with that play. Just because, I mean, I'm going to end right now. Yeah, it puts me at lower hand, but I'll be able to take a knockout on the Drampa. I will be up to, I was going to say 5 cards after my prizes, but I'll be up to 4 because I can play one of the cards in my hand and put my opponent back down to 6 instead of 10. Instruct with Oranguru for an extra card, see if it's anything good. I get a Field Blower, which doesn't really work in this instance. So let's just go ahead, knock out the Drampa, take a couple prizes. And also, because of the Oranguru, I'm not as susceptible to N as I was before. I mean, yeah, putting me down to 1 where I can only get up to 3 is not great, but 3 is a heck of a lot better than 1. In fact, it's 3 times as good as 1. So my opponent does bring down a Gardevoir, and really all I need to do is just knock out the Togetic, and I win the game. Or Togetic or Togepi. Yeah, there's Togepi coming down. I mean, Togetic can always evolve into a Togekiss this turn. Really what I need is a... actually, I can play out my hand to where I can draw an extra card with Oranguru if my opponent's able to evolve into Togekiss this turn. So does he hit it? Yes, and he actually hits it twice. So we will see a Togekiss come down this turn. And a Togetic potentially for next turn. So yeah, the Togekiss is 100% going to come down. It's probably going to put a couple energy on the Gardevoir so that it's able to actually attack, and then maybe 1 on the Togekiss depending on how many it got, he got off of that. Looks like he only got 2, which, I mean, hey, 2 off a Togekiss is still great. I mean, I consider that a successful Togekiss. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's great. Like, or it's better. It's better than good. Not quite great, but great's the only like real like descriptor I can come up with at this point. My opponent is gonna hollow right now, but now he will get 7 cards. So as it turns out, the Big Wheel GX still did end up helping. Plays down another Gardevoir, and if I can get him, well, there's a Mew. Now if I can get my DCE, actually what I'm going to do, Field Blower, get rid of my Lele, Sky Field, and then, you know what, let's just go ahead and Sycamore. I'm going to save my Oranguru for if I need it, and, well, there's the DCE, so I am going to be able to win this game. Togekiss will get knocked out by a team play from Mew, because that will be doing 130 damage, which is enough to knock out Togekiss, get me my Choice Band, and we will be able to win the game. Win our first one against a Mega Gardevoir Drampa deck, which actually, not gonna lie, is really kind of cool. So props to my opponent on that one. I mean, yeah, just plain and simple. I mean, we started out really slow, but able to take a cheeky knockout on a Togepi first turn, able to put enough damage on the Gardevoir to where I was able to 2-hit KO it. And, I mean, it just ended up working. Started slow, but we ended up winning the game very convincingly. So, yeah, that was game 1. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Gel Belliger or something like that with a, with a Psychic and Normal deck. So, I actually kind of hope that it's Garbodor, because Orabomb talks all about how this matchup is in what am I trying to say? This matchup is in Passimian's favor. So I'm curious to see how it ends up working out. I do start with a Shaymin, and we go second. Shaymin start is not good. The fact that my hand is also bad is not good as well. But the fact that my opponent does start Eevee is actually workable. So what I'm going to do is Ultra Ball, get rid of the Ranger. and the Lysandre to grab my Passimian. There are 3 DCEs, and Brigette is in the deck as well. So what I'm going to do is play down the Passimian, go ahead and Lele, grab. So my Sycamore is even prized as well. So as much as I hate to do this, like I really need something in my hand. I need to get something going. So I'm just going to give my opponent a fresh hand. And what this allows me to do is actually get 30 damage off on the Eevee with Shaymin if I want to. So let's go ahead and Trainers Mail, grab, ooh, another Puzzle of Time. This is interesting. So that's what I'm going to do. Ultra Ball, get rid of that, and the N, grab another Passimian. What do I want to Shaymin? Shaymin, Passimian, or Mew? What do I want? Oh, this is tough. This is really tough. So let's actually grab Oranguru so that I can get a little bit more draw. Play Oranguru down. And then let's double puzzle. See, this is tricky because like I'm playing items. But okay, let's double puzzle, grab the Trainer's Mail and the Ultra Ball. Trainer's Mail, see what we can get, maybe an Escape Rope or something like that. I get a Sky Field. So if I had gotten that Escape Rope, okay, so if I had gotten like an Escape Rope or something like that, I could have simply Escape Roped into the Passimian, grabbed another Passimian, then I would have been able to knock the Eevee out. But at this point, it's like, well, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to Sky Return, put up something, and, well, quite frankly, put up something and pray. So I'm going to put up a Lele right now, just because, I mean, Lele is somewhat expendable-ish. I did end my opponent into an Espeon, which, I mean, I kind of figured that I'd end my opponent into, well, he even had an energy, so it really doesn't matter. I kind of knew that my opponent would end up in that position just because, I mean, if you end your opponent out of a crap hand, they're probably going to get something good. It's only me that goes from crap hand to crap. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know everybody gets pretty unlucky from time to time. And honestly, that was just my play. I would have gone for my Sycamore because my opponent didn't have anything if I could, but because it was prized, I had to go for it. And yeah, there is a Trubbish as well. That thing's going to be annoying. This is going to be an interesting match. This is going to be an interesting match, to say the least. I could have gone like balls to the wall, tried to get like that first turn Escape Rope into Passimian with another Passimian and gone from there. But my opponent is actually going to Lysandre and Psybeam. That's a good play for sure. Definitely a good play. And I get it. Ah, this is bad. So what I'm going to do, Ultra Ball, get rid of a DCE and a Lysandre, grab a Mew. Because if I can get my Escape Rope off the Mew, if I can get an Escape Rope and get rid of, and get the Passimian out of harm's way, let's go ahead and, do I want to Instruct or Set Up first? I think I'm going to go ahead and Instruct, see if I can get something workable. Oh, that is very workable. Let's Shaymin, get a couple more cards, see if I can get something I can... Oh, it's not an Escape Rope, but I think I can make it work. Let's play that there, go ahead and Trainer's Mail, see if we can... Alright, so I need that Escape Rope, and I'm going to be playing my last 2 Puzzles of Time. But I really, really need that Escape Rope right now. Let's grab both Trainer's Mail, I think. Just fish as much as possible. Really have to. Nope, I don't get anything, but I can use the Nest Ball to grab another Passimian. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Nest Ball, grab Passimian. There's another one. Trainer's Mail and pray once again. I do not get it. But I do get a Town Map, which I really can't believe that. That's ridiculous. That, I mean, how often do you see that? Like, you just don't see that. On the bright side, I do get my Sycamore. And I will actually, I think, be able to one-shot this Espeon. Well, I won't be able to one-shot it because, I mean, I'll be able to go into Mew and then knock out the Trubbish. But because my opponent played that Trubbish down, I'm not going to be able to knock out the Espeon. And the question is, do I want to just leave the Trubbish alive and just wait till next, and then Lysandre up the Espeon for next turn. I think the play is to grab another Mew, just because Mew is going to be my way of knocking things out this game. Unfortunately, I wish I could knock out the Trubbish with a Sky Return. That would save a DCE and a DCE Choice Band and a Mew. But unfortunately, we don't get to. So my opponent, God, all three Sycamore prized. All three of them are prized. I'm gonna grab that just because I want to have that available, because I know, yeah, I mean, just blech, 3 Sycamore prized. That's harsh. That's harsh. Wow, that is harsh to have to deal with, because I mean, I had to give my opponent a fresh hand, and that really does pain me. But at this point, what I can do, so my opponent's going to be able to knock out the Passimian on the bench and the active Mew with a Divide GX. And I mean, that's, in my opinion, an excellent use of Divide GX, because it gets rid of a Passimian, it knocks out a Mew, and it also gets rid of a Choice Band plus a DCE. So it's just kind of an all-around good idea for my opponent to do. Like, I'm at way too many items in the discard pile now. Like, my Pokemon don't have a chance of surviving Ants, Trash Lantern. I just kind of have to hope that my opponent doesn't have Lysandres at the right times to be able to take big knockouts on EXs, and hopefully the prize trade will go in my favor. My opponent is getting another Espeon, getting a Trubbish and a Garbodor setup. If my opponent can get a Garbotoxin Garbodor, then that'll actually really be bad, because then that'll shut off my Mew, which is my only way of hitting my opponent's Espeon GXs for weakness. And then at that point, it'll just be even worse. So yeah, my opponent is going to go ahead and Divide GX, making the very smart play of knocking out Passimian, and also I can guarantee the active Mew as well, just because it knocks out a Mew, and it takes out a second knockout on Passimian, which is kind of the root of my damage. For my attacks. So unfortunately, I am going to lose a Passimian, a Mew, a Choice Band, and a DCE all in one turn, which is pretty bad, not going to lie. But what I can do is promote my other Mew. And at this point, this Mew will be able to knock out this Espeon if I can get a DCE. So I'm kind of wishing I grabbed that DCE, but you know what? The game is rewarding me for being dumb, and I'm able to top deck out of that. I'm able to top deck a DCE. And at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end. Well, after I Oranguru, see if I can get something good. No, I don't. So I'm just going to end, put my opponent down to 4 cards. I have 5. That's fine with me. This hand isn't the greatest, but what I'm going to do is Shaymin for 2 cards, see if I can get another Passimian, just try to get something more set up, which I do. So get a Nest Ball for that very last Passimian. So I mean, those cards off that Shaymin were phenomenal. And then what I'm going to do is Choice Band up the Passimian, knock out the Espeon GX with a Team Play from Mew, hit for weakness, and now I'm going to grab the DCE for sure, and then I think just the other Mew. Because I mean, I have the Sycamore, my deck's at a low enough size anyway that I really don't need the other Sycamores or the Kukui just yet. I mean, I hate to say I don't need the Kukui, because I might end up in a position where I have to attack with Passimian, and I'll want that extra 20 damage. But I think at this point, this is actually great for me. If my opponent does get rid of my Sky Field, which honestly I would have just gotten rid of both Choice Bands. I think Sky Field at that point was benefiting him more than it benefited me, because it kept on board my 2 prize attackers. Now all I have on board are just a bunch of 1 prize attackers, which my opponent, like, I mean, he has to take 4 knockouts at this point to be able to win the game. Meanwhile, I can still knock out EXs and GXs, where if he had kept my Shaymins and my Tapu Lele on board, actually, even if he had kept the Shaymins, because Shaymin have the same HP as Passimian, so they would be a very easy 2 prize knockout. And my opponent will end me right here. It's not a huge deal. Wow, I even get the teammates. Gets another Field Blower, so I mean, I guess maybe banking on that, but still, I would not have gone for getting rid of the Sky Field just because it benefited my opponent so much having that on board. I mean, my top decks are being very kind to me in this game. I top deck a Teammates, and I mean, I don't really need the Sky Field. I'm just gonna play it just cause in case my opponent ends me again. I am going to grab Teammates to grab, I think, no, should I grab a DCE and a Mew, or should I grab DCE and a VS Seeker so I can have another Teammates next turn? I think the play is to grab a VS Seeker and a DCE. So this way, I mean, I have 2 DCE left in the deck. I'll be able to knock out this Espeon this turn with a team play. And then all I need is one more knockout. I can Teammates for my last DCE and a Rescue Stretcher if I need. I'm just going to grab the other Sycamores. Now at this point, if my opponent gets up a Garbodor... wait, will it be enough? No, it won't. I should have grabbed the Kukui because a Passimian with 3 Passimian on the bench only hits for 100 damage, so I should have grabbed the Kukui because I will be 10 damage short otherwise. Man. So maybe I should have grabbed... I don't know, maybe I should have grabbed the Mew. Yeah, I think I definitely should have grabbed the Mew because now I'm going to have to promote a Passimian, which cannot one-shot a Garbodor. And so my opponent doesn't have any more Espeons. That's interesting. But actually, wait. No, that's the Garbotoxin that has 100. This is actually really coming down to the wire. I think what I might have to do is try to two-shot a Garbodor. Well, never mind. Okay, my opponent just forfeits, so it's not coming down to the wire anymore because we win. Yeah, I made a few interesting plays towards the end that, I mean, hindsight 2020 probably should have made slightly differently, but I mean, they ended up working out for me in the end, so I mean, it still ended up being technically the correct play just because it ended up working out, but I think I could have put myself in a much better position in a little bit more of a roundabout way if I had, like, maybe grabbed the DCE and the Mew instead of the DCE and the VS Seeker, knowing that I had a Oranguru, which could draw me into which could probably draw me into a supporter, which I could have used at that point to win the game. So either way, that was a match against a Garbodor Espeon deck, which is one of the top tier decks in the current meta. So that's a huge win. I will take those, and either way, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.